The candles flickered across our dining room table like tiny searchlights, exposing every crack in Derek's performance. He'd arranged the silverware with military precision, uncorked an expensive Cabernet, and even picked up fresh flowers. Yellow roses, which I'd mentioned loving exactly once, 15 years ago. I'm Valerie, and I've spent 20 years learning to read my husband's tells. Tonight, they're screaming at me. You outdid yourself, I said, watching him serve the pasta with practiced grace. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Another tell. Can't a man surprise his wife? Derek's voice carried that smooth, practiced tone he usually reserved for his clients. You've been working so hard lately. You deserve this. I took a careful sip of wine, buying time. Where's Ella? At Chelsea's for a study group. I thought we could use some alone time. The pasta was perfectly al dente, probably from that expensive Italian place downtown. Derek never cooked. He claimed he didn't have the patience for it, just like he didn't have the patience for parent-teacher conferences or Ella's violin recitals. How thoughtful, I said, twirling the pasta around my fork. Especially since you've been so busy with the new project. How's that going? His hand tightened slightly around his wine glass. Brilliantly. We're ahead of schedule, actually. The client's thrilled. Lie number 1. I'd seen the emails he'd forgotten to close on his laptop last night. The project was hemorrhaging money, and the client was threatening to pull out. That's wonderful, I smiled, matching his performance. And Ryan's team is handling everything well. A microscopic pause. Ryan's been invaluable. Lie number 2. Ryan Collins, my best friend Maggie's husband, had quit the project 3 weeks ago. Derek hadn't told me why. We should have them over for dinner soon, I suggested, watching his reaction. It's been ages since we've seen them. They're probably busy, he deflected, reaching for the wine bottle. More? I covered my glass with my hand. I'm good. Actually, I got an interesting call today. Derek's shoulders tensed slightly as he poured himself another generous glass. Oh? From the bank. I kept my voice light, casual. There seems to be some confusion about our joint account. Apparently there was a rather large withdrawal last week. The candlelight caught the sheen of sweat forming on his upper lip. Must be a mistake. I'll look into it tomorrow. Lie number 3. The biggest one yet. That's what I thought at first, I continued. But then I remembered something odd. Last month, when I was organising the home office, I found a receipt from a jewellery store. Cartier. Quite expensive. Derek's smile froze. Valerie. Our anniversary isn't for months, I cut in, and my birthday was last week. You got me a cookbook, remember? The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Outside, a car alarm went off, its wailing perfectly matching the moment. I can explain, he started, but I was already standing up, my napkin falling to the floor. Save it, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I already called Maggie. She told me everything. The colour drained from his face. What exactly did she tell you? Enough. I grabbed my purse from the counter. I'm staying at her place tonight. Don't call me, don't try to explain. And Derek? I paused at the doorway, looking back at the elaborate dinner scene he'd staged. Yellow roses are my mother's favourite, not mine. I hate them. Always have. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Maggie. Did you tell him? I typed back. Phase 1 complete. Your turn. The engine purred to life, and I caught a glimpse of Derek in the rearview mirror, standing in the doorway with his perfect dinner falling apart behind him. He had no idea what was coming next. Neither did I, really. But for the first time in years, I felt absolutely certain about one thing. By the time this was over, he'd wish he'd never underestimated me. Maggie's guest room felt like a confessional booth at 3 a.m. I sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through years of Derek's financial records on my laptop while she paced, her wine glass making dangerous circles in the air. He's been moving money around for months, I said, pointing to a series of transactions. Small amounts at first, then bigger. Always on days when Ella had away games or competitions. The bastard used your daughter's schedule as cover. Maggie stopped pacing, her face hardening. What about the Cartier receipt? My phone buzzed. Ella's name lit up the screen. Mom, Dad's being weird. He keeps asking where you are but won't let me call you. You okay? I typed back quickly. Everything's fine, honey. Stay at Chelsea's tonight. Love you. Valerie? Maggie's voice had that edge I'd learned to recognize. There's something you need to know about Ryan's resignation. Before she could continue, her front door slammed. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Maggie! Ryan's voice boomed through the house. Your phone's been off. Derek's looking for... He burst into the room, freezing when he saw me. Valerie! Shit! Ryan, I said, closing my laptop. Perfect timing. Want to tell me why you really quit Derek's project? He exchanged a loaded look with Maggie. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. Ryan ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Derek's been cooking the books for years. The tech consulting. It's a front. He's been moving money for some very dangerous people. Money laundering? The words felt foreign in my mouth. Worse, Maggie cut in. He's been stealing from his clients, setting up fake projects, skimming millions. Ryan found out and threatened to expose him. That's when Derek showed me what he had on me, Ryan said quietly. Old mistakes. Things that could destroy my career, my marriage. He looked at Maggie. Our life. My phone buzzed again. Derek, come home. We can fix this. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. He's threatening you. Maggie moved closer to me, reading over my shoulder. No, I said, a cold clarity washing over me. He's threatening Ella. Ryan's face darkened. He wouldn't. You don't know him like I do, I cut in, already gathering my things. 20 years of marriage and I never saw it. The real him, until now. Where are you going? Maggie grabbed my arm. To get my daughter. You can't, Ryan blocked the doorway. Derek's got people watching Chelsea's house. They followed you here. The room tilted slightly. What people? The kind you don't want to meet, he said grimly. Listen, there's something else. The Cartier receipt? It wasn't for jewelry. Maggie shot him a warning look, but he continued. It was for a safety deposit box. Whatever's in there, it's what Derek's really afraid of losing. Not you, not Ella. Something worth killing for. My phone buzzed one final time. Derek again. Found it, Val. Should have changed your passwords. See you soon. The blood drained from my face. My laptop. The encrypted folder labelled insurance that I'd been collecting for months. Every transaction, every secret meeting, every lie carefully documented. He's bluffing, I said, but my hands shook as I tried to remotely access my cloud storage. Access denied. No, no, no. I frantically typed in another password, then another. Access denied. Access denied. Valerie, Maggie whispered, what exactly did you have in that folder? Everything, I breathed. And now? A car door slammed outside. Through the window I caught the gleam of Derek's BMW in the streetlight. He stepped out, adjusting his perfect suit, that familiar charming smile playing on his lips as he looked up at the window. Back door, Ryan commanded, already moving. Now! But I stood my ground, watching Derek approach the house. 20 years of manipulation, of careful lies and calculated affection, all leading to this moment. He thought he had me cornered, trapped by his threats and his power. What he didn't know was that the folder he'd found wasn't my only insurance policy. The real evidence was still safely hidden, waiting in a Cartier safety deposit box, one purchased with his own money, through his own careful schemes. I picked up my phone and typed one last message. Game on. The safety deposit box key felt impossibly heavy in my coat pocket as I walked through Cartier's polished doors. 3 security cameras tracked my movement. I wondered which ones Derek had already accessed. Mrs. Thompson. The manager's smile was practiced perfection. Your husband called ahead, said you might be stopping by. Of course he did. I matched her smile with equal precision. How thoughtful of him. She led me to the vault area, her heels clicking against marble floors. He mentioned you might need assistance accessing your box. Something about a misplaced key? Actually, I pulled out the key, watching her expression shift. I have it right here. The manager's smile flickered. She touched her earpiece, murmuring something I couldn't catch. One moment, please. My phone vibrated. Maggie. Derek's men just left Chelsea's. Ella's safe. Ryan's with her. Before I could respond, another message flashed. Derek. Did you really think I wouldn't have a backup key? The manager returned with a security guard. Mrs. Thompson, I'm afraid there's been a problem with your box authorization. Has there? I kept my voice steady. That's interesting considering I'm the only authorized user. Your husband has no legal access, I cut in, pulling out a document. As you can see, this box was registered solely in my name. Any attempt to access it without my presence would be illegal. The manager's eyes darted between me and the paper. Another guard appeared by the vault entrance. My phone buzzed again. Derek. Check the news. I pulled up a financial news site. My stomach dropped. The headline screamed, Tech consultant Derek Thompson named in federal investigation. Below it, my own name appeared as a person of interest. Mrs. Thompson? The manager was watching me carefully. Is everything all right? Perfect, I said, though my hands had started to shake. The box, please. She hesitated, then nodded to the guards. They escorted us into the vault, where she inserted her master key alongside mine. The box slid out with a whisper of metal on metal. Inside lay a single USB drive and a folder of documents, copies of everything Derek thought he'd deleted from my cloud storage, plus something he didn't know I had. Recordings of his late-night phone calls, the ones he made from his home office when he thought I was sleeping. My phone lit up again. Maggie. Ryan just told me everything. About Derek. About what really happened 5 years ago. Val, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. The manager cleared her throat. Mrs. Thompson, we have another client waiting. I tucked the items into my bag, my mind racing. What did Maggie mean? What happened 5 years ago? Outside Cartier, a black SUV idled across the street. One of Derek's watchdogs, no doubt. I pulled out my phone and called the one number I'd been avoiding. Mom, Ella answered on the first ring. What's going on? Dad's face is all over the news, and these men were watching Chelsea's house and… Listen carefully, I cut in. Stay with Ryan. Don't tell anyone where you are. Not even Maggie. Especially not Maggie. Mom, you're scaring me. I know, honey. I'm scared too. My voice cracked. But I'm going to fix this. All of it. How? The SUV's engine rumbled to life. By doing what I should have done 5 years ago when I first suspected something was wrong, I'm going to make your father tell the truth. About what? Another text from Derek appeared. Last chance, Val. Meet me at the house in 1 hour. Alone. Or the FBI gets proof of your involvement. Mom? I watched the SUV pull away from the curb, tracking my movements. About everything, sweetheart. About the money laundering, about Ryan's resignation, and about what really happened to your Aunt Sarah. The line went silent. Then, barely a whisper. Dad said Aunt Sarah moved to Europe. No, honey. I stepped into a taxi, giving the driver our home address. That's just what he wanted everyone to believe. My phone buzzed one final time. An unknown number. Mrs. Thompson, this is Special Agent Carter with the FBI. We need to discuss your husband's activities and a missing person case from 2018. Please call immediately. The taxi merged into traffic, carrying me toward a confrontation 20 years in the making. Derek thought he was forcing my hand, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'd learned all my best moves from him, and unlike my husband, I never played a card without knowing exactly how the game would end. The taxi crawled through evening traffic while I played Ryan's voicemail for the 3rd time. Sarah didn't leave for Europe. She found something in Derek's files. Something about offshore accounts and a company called Nexus Solutions. The night before she disappeared, she called me. Said she needed to meet. She never showed. I clicked off the phone as we pulled up to my house. Derek's BMW sat in the driveway, along with an unfamiliar silver Audi. Through the living room window, I caught glimpses of moving shadows. Keep the meter running, I told the driver. The front door was unlocked. Inside, Derek stood by the fireplace, drinking scotch with a man I'd never seen before. Both turned as I entered. There she is, Derek smiled, all warmth and charm. Agent Carter, this is my wife, Valerie. The FBI agent didn't smile back. Mrs. Thompson, we were just discussing your sister-in-law's European adventure. I set my bag down carefully, keeping the USB drive close. Were you? Fascinating story, Carter continued. She apparently moved to Brussels in 2018. No forwarding address, no social media presence, not even a passport record. It's almost like she vanished into thin air. People do that sometimes, Derek said smoothly. Start fresh, leave everything behind. Not Sarah, I countered, watching Derek's fingers tighten around his glass. She wouldn't leave without saying goodbye to her daughter. Emma still asks about her. Carter's eyebrows rose slightly. I wasn't aware Sarah had a child. Ex-husband's custody, Derek cut in quickly. Messy divorce, another reason she left. My phone buzzed. Maggie. Don't trust Ryan. He's not telling you everything about Sarah. Mrs. Thompson. Carter set down his drink. Your husband claims you handled all the family's financial documentation, including transfers to Nexus Solutions. Derek's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. Val's always been better with numbers than me. Actually, I moved toward my laptop on the coffee table. I have some documentation you might find interesting, Agent Carter. About Nexus, about Sarah, and about what really happened to those missing client funds. Valerie. Derek's voice carried a warning. Think about Ella. I am thinking about Ella. I opened my laptop, typing in the password. I'm thinking about how she deserves to know what happened to her aunt. The screen remained black. I tried again. Nothing. Looking for this, Derek held up a small circuit board. Amazing what you can learn about computers when you're married to someone in tech. Like how to remove a hard drive. Carter watched our exchange with increasing interest. Mrs. Thompson, if you're attempting to cooperate— She's not, Derek interrupted. Are you, Val? Because that would mean admitting your own involvement. The transfers you authorized, the accounts you helped manage. Sarah figured it out, didn't she? That's why she came to you first. My blood ran cold. What? Oh, did Ryan not mention that part? Derek's smile turned cruel. Sarah reached out to you before she disappeared, left you a message about meeting at that little cafe you both loved. But you never showed up, did you? Too busy covering our tracks. That's a lie, but my voice shook. I never got any message. Check your old voicemails, Derek suggested. The ones from that phone you lost right after Sarah vanished. The one I replaced as an anniversary gift. The room spun slightly. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. Agent Carter, I started, but he was already pulling out handcuffs. Valerie Thompson, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding the disappearance of Sarah Thompson and the misappropriation of client funds through Nexus Solutions. My phone buzzed one final time. Ryan. Found Sarah's real message. It wasn't meant for you. She was trying to warn Maggie about Derek, about what he did to her husband. The pieces clicked into place. Maggie's strange behavior, Ryan's guilt, Derek's perfect alibi. All this time, I'd been looking at the wrong puzzle. Agent Carter, I said quietly, before you arrest anyone, you might want to ask my husband about Thomas Collins. Derek's glass shattered on the floor. Maggie's first husband, I continued, watching the colour drain from Derek's face. The one who died in that convenient car accident the same week Sarah disappeared. The one whose life insurance policy listed Nexus Solutions as the beneficiary. Carter's hand moved to his weapon. Mr. Thompson? But Derek was already running for the back door, leaving me standing in the wreckage of our lives, finally seeing the full picture of his betrayal. And my own unwitting role in it. Agent Carter's team swarmed the house while I sat in Maggie's kitchen, watching her hands shake as she poured coffee. The morning news played silently on her tablet. Tech executives still at large. FBI expands search. You should have told me about Thomas, I said quietly. Maggie's cup clattered against the counter. I couldn't. Derek, he had evidence that Thomas's death wasn't an accident, evidence that would have implicated Ryan. And Sarah found out. She was always too clever. Maggie's voice cracked. She traced the insurance payout to Nexus, then connected it to Thomas's brake lines being cut. She thought she was protecting me by confronting Derek first. My phone lit up. Unknown number. Storage Unit 247, midnight. Come alone if you want to know the truth. D. He's desperate, Ryan said from the doorway, making us both jump. The FBI found Thomas's real autopsy report this morning. Derek's running out of options. And allies, I added, watching Maggie carefully. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Val, she whispered, there's something else, about the night Sarah disappeared. Before she could continue, my phone rang. Ella. Mum? There's someone at Chelsea's house. They say they're from Dad's office, but... The line went dead. Ryan was already grabbing his keys. I'll get her. No. I stood up, my voice steadier than I felt. You've both done enough. This ends tonight. Valerie, wait! Maggie caught my arm. The storage unit. It's where Derek kept everything. All the evidence, including what really happened to Sarah, but he's not alone. There are others involved, powerful people who killed your husband? I pulled away. Or who helped cover it up? Her face crumpled. Both. I checked my watch. 8 hours until midnight. 8 hours to decide who to trust, how to protect Ella, and whether revenge was worth the cost. My phone buzzed again. Agent Carter. Mrs. Thompson, we found something in your sister-in-law's old apartment. Something about you. The message included a photo, a letter in Sarah's handwriting, dated the day before she vanished. My hands trembled as I read, Val, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Derek didn't just kill Thomas, he's been eliminating anyone who threatens his operation. The evidence is in Storage Unit 247, but be careful. Maggie isn't who you think she is. She and Derek. The rest was torn off. I need to go, I said, already moving toward the door. Where? Ryan stepped in my path. To get my daughter, then to finish what Sarah started. You can't trust Derek, Maggie pleaded. I don't. I turned back, seeing them both clearly for the first time. But I trusted you, and look where that got us. My phone chimed one last time. Derek. Ella's safe. For now. Midnight. Come alone, or Sarah won't be the only sister you lose. I walked out of Maggie's house, leaving behind the coffee, the excuses, and any illusion of friendship. In my purse, the USB drive from the safety deposit box felt like a loaded gun. On it was everything Sarah had discovered, about Thomas, about Nexus, about Derek's entire operation. What Derek didn't know was that I'd already sent copies to every major news outlet and federal agency. They would go public at 12:01 a.m., 1 minute after our midnight meeting. The question wasn't whether Derek would fall. That was inevitable now. The question was how many people he'd take down with him, and whether Ella and I would survive the collapse. I got into my car, checking the glove compartment where Sarah's old gun still lay hidden. She'd given it to me years ago, saying sometimes protection meant being willing to pull the trigger. I hadn't understood then. I did now. As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of Maggie in her window, phone pressed to her ear. Warning Derek? Warning Ryan? It didn't matter anymore. In 8 hours, everyone's true face would be revealed, including mine. I just hoped Ella would forgive me for what I had to do next. Storage Unit 247 loomed before me, its metal door reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights. 11:58 p.m. Sarah's gun pressed against my lower back, a constant reminder of what was at stake. The lock clicked open. Inside, Derek stood next to a bound figure in a chair. Ella, head bowed, shoulders shaking. Right on time, Derek said, closing the door behind me. Always so punctual, Val. So predictable. Let her go. Show me the USB drive first. I pulled it from my pocket, holding it up. Show me she's okay. Derek yanked the hood off Ella's head. She blinked in the harsh light, a bruise darkening her cheek. Our eyes met, and she tried to speak through her gag. You hit our daughter. My voice came out flat, deadly. Actually, a familiar voice said behind me. I did. Maggie stepped out of the shadows holding a gun. Sorry about that, Val. She struggled. The betrayal hit like a physical blow, but I kept my face neutral. Let me guess. You're the one who killed Sarah too? No, Derek laughed softly. That was all me. Sarah made the mistake of threatening to expose everything, the money laundering, Thomas's murder, the offshore accounts. I couldn't let that happen. And Thomas? That was me, Maggie said quietly. He found out about Derek and me, about how long we'd been together. He had to go. The pieces clicked into place. The long business trips, the late-night calls, the way Derek always seemed to know Maggie's schedule. 20 years, I said, understanding finally dawning. You've been playing me for 20 years. Longer, Derek admitted. Since college, Maggie and I had the perfect plan. Marry other people, build our alibis, run our operation through legitimate businesses. It worked beautifully until Sarah got suspicious. My phone vibrated. 12 Akaos a.m. 1 minute until everything went public. The USB, Derek demanded, pressing a gun to Ella's temple. I held it out, hands steady. Take it. Derek grabbed it, tossing it to Maggie. Check it. While Maggie plugged it into her laptop, I inched closer to Ella. Just a few more seconds. It's encrypted, Maggie frowned. The password, Derek ordered. Sarah, I said softly. The password is Sarah. Maggie typed it in. Her face went pale. Derek, it's empty. 12:01 a.m. My phone buzzed again. Now, I said, check the news. Derek's phone chimed, then Maggie's, then the sound of police sirens outside. What did you do? Derek's face contorted. I sent everything to the press, the FBI, everyone. I moved between him and Ella. Sarah taught me well. Always keep backups. You're bluffing, Maggie said, but her hands shook as she checked her phone. Breaking news. Tech scandal exposed. Multiple murders linked to Nexus Solutions. Derek lunged for me, but I was ready. Sarah's gun felt natural in my hands as I pulled it from my waistband. Don't, I warned. The storage unit door burst open. FBI agents poured in, Agent Carter leading them. Federal agents, drop your weapons. Everything happened at once. Maggie fired. I fired back. Derek tried to run, the air filled with gunshots and screams. When the chaos cleared, Maggie lay clutching her shoulder. Derek was in handcuffs, and I held Ella as she sobbed into my chest. Mom, she choked out, I heard everything. About Aunt Sarah, about... I know, baby. I stroked her hair, avoiding the bruise on her cheek. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Thompson, Agent Carter approached. We need to take your statement. I nodded, still holding Ella. As they led Derek past us, he paused. You really think this is over? He sneered. You have no idea how deep this goes. Who else is involved? You've just signed our daughter's death warrant. No, I said, watching his smug expression falter. I've just guaranteed her safety, because now everyone knows exactly what happens to people who threaten my family. They took him away, but his words echoed in my head. He was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Somewhere out there, more players waited in the shadows, more secrets threatened to surface. But for now, I held my daughter and watched the sunrise through the storage unit's small window, understanding finally that revenge wasn't about winning. It was about surviving. The interrogation room's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Derek's face as I sat across from him. 3 days since the storage unit showdown, and his perfect facade had finally cracked. You're not here to press charges, he said, studying me. So why come? I placed Sarah's old phone on the metal table between us. Because of this, his eyes flickered with recognition. Where did you... Ryan found it, in Maggie's safety deposit box, the one you helped her set up after Sarah disappeared. I pressed play on the last voicemail. Sarah's voice filled the room. Maggie, I know about the transfers. About Thomas. Derek's planning something big and you're next. Meet me at... I stopped the recording. She wasn't warning me that night. She was trying to save your girlfriend's life. And now Maggie's in custody anyway. Derek leaned back, chains rattling. Ironic, isn't it? Where's Sarah's body? His smile didn't reach his eyes. You know I can't tell you that. Can't, or won't. I slid a document across the table. Your empire's falling apart, Derek. Your clients are turning on you. But I can help. Help? He laughed. You destroyed everything. No, I exposed everything. There's a difference. I tapped the document. This is a deal from the FBI. Full immunity in exchange for names. All of them. You really think I'd… Ella's college fund, I cut in. The offshore account in her name. The one you thought I didn't know about. Sign this, and it stays hidden. His facade cracked further. You're bluffing. Am I? I pulled out my phone, showing him the account details. $20 million, Derek. Blood money from every deal, every murder, every betrayal. Sign the deal, or I send this to Agent Carter right now. You'd steal from your own daughter. I'd protect her from becoming an accessory to murder. My finger hovered over the send button. Your choice. Derek stared at the document, then at me. You've changed. No, I've woken up. I stood, gathering my things. You have until midnight to decide. After that, Ella loses everything. Just like Sarah's daughter did. Wait. His chains clinked as he reached for the pen. There's something you should know first, about Ryan. Save it. I already know he was your inside man at the FBI. I watched his expression shift. Why do you think he's in the next room right now, making his own deal? You played us all, Derek whispered, realization dawning. I learned from the best. I pushed the pen closer. Now sign. As Derek scrawled his signature, a knock came at the door. Agent Carter entered with Ryan in handcuffs. It's done, Ryan said. All of it. The accounts, the bodies, everything. Including Sarah? I asked quietly. He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. Including Sarah. Derek lunged across the table, but the chains held him back. You treacherous. Careful, I warned. Your immunity deal doesn't cover new charges. You think this is over? Derek snarled. You think you've won? There are still people out there, people who just lost everything, I finished. Check your phone. Oh, wait. You can't. But if you could, you'd see that every name Ryan just gave us is already in custody. Your safety net is gone. The truth hit him like a physical blow. For the first time in 20 years, I saw real fear in his eyes. Mrs. Thompson, Agent Carter said, we're ready for Sarah's location. I turned to leave, but Derek called after me. How long? How long what? How long have you been planning this? Working with the FBI? Setting us all up? I paused at the door, thinking of Sarah's last message, of Ella's bruised face, of 20 years of lies. Since the moment you forgot the most important thing about me. Which is? I'm not just your wife, Derek. I'm also a sister, and sisters don't abandon each other. I looked back one last time. Not even after death. The door closed on Derek's face, leaving him alone with his choices, his consequences, and the ghost of every life he'd destroyed in his pursuit of power. Outside, Ella waited with Agent Carter, clutching Sarah's old diary. Did he sign? He did. I took her hand. Ready to say goodbye to Aunt Sarah? She nodded, tears in her eyes. Ready. Together we walked toward the waiting cars, toward closure, toward whatever came next in our story of survival and justice. Behind us, Derek's empire crumbled to dust. The autumn wind scattered leaves across Sarah's newly placed headstone. After 5 years, we'd finally brought her home. Ella knelt beside the grave, arranging fresh flowers while I watched from a few steps back, giving her space to say goodbye. She would have loved these, Ella said, touching the yellow roses. Sarah's favourite, not mine. Another lie Derek had gotten wrong. My phone buzzed. Agent Carter. Derek's sentencing tomorrow. Still don't want to attend. I typed back, no need, we've moved on. The media circus around Derek's empire had finally quieted. Maggie's testimony had sealed his fate, along with dozens of others. Ryan's deal had saved him from the worst charges, but his career was over. Justice, or something close to it. Mom? Ella stood, brushing dirt from her knees. I found this in Aunt Sarah's diary. It's for you. She handed me a weathered envelope. Inside was a key and a note in Sarah's familiar scrawl. For when it's over, Storage Unit 248. My hands trembled. All this time, the truth had been next door to Derek's unit. "Should we go?" Ella asked. The storage facility looked different in daylight. Unit 248's lock clicked open easily, revealing a small space filled with cardboard boxes, each one labelled meticulously, evidence. Photos. Emma's future. "Emma?" Ella picked up a framed picture. "Sarah's daughter. Your cousin." I opened the first box, finding stacks of documents. Sarah was gathering evidence against Derek long before she disappeared. She knew he'd come after her eventually. So she left a backup plan. She left insurance. I lifted out a USB drive labelled everything. For Emma. For us. For everyone Derek hurt. Ella's phone chimed. She checked it, then showed me the screen. A news alert. Breaking, tech mogul Derek Thompson found dead in cell hours before sentencing. My hands didn't shake this time. Suicide? They're investigating. Ella watched me carefully. "Are you okay?" I thought about Derek's last words to me during our final visit yesterday. "You'll never know everything, Val. Some secrets stay buried." Now he'd buried them permanently. "Mom?" Ella touched my arm. "There's something else in that box." Beneath the documents lay a sealed letter addressed to Emma, and beneath that, a photo I'd never seen before. Sarah at her desk, pregnant with Emma, smiling at the camera. On the back, she'd written, "Some fights choose us. The trick isn't winning, it's knowing when to stop." "What do we do now?" Ella asked. I picked up Emma's letter. "We find your cousin. Tell her everything. Let her decide what to do with Sarah's insurance policy. And the rest?" I looked at the boxes of evidence, at 5 years of Sarah's meticulous planning, at all the secrets that had died with Derek. "We burn it." Sarah didn't want revenge. She wanted protection. For Emma, for you, for everyone these secrets could still hurt. But Derek got what he deserved. I pulled out my lighter. Sometimes justice isn't about exposing everything. Sometimes it's about knowing which truths to bury and which ones to set free. We worked in silence, burning each document, each photo, each piece of evidence Sarah had gathered. As the last box emptied, Ella spoke quietly. "Aunt Sarah knew, didn't she, that it would end like this? She knew Derek better than anyone." I pocketed Emma's letter. "She knew the only way to truly stop him was to let him destroy himself." The final photo curled in the flames. Derek and Maggie at a college party, young and unguarded, their future crimes still unwritten. As it burned, my phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. "Mom, this is Emma. Agent Carter gave me your number. Can we meet?" Ella read the message over my shoulder. "Ready?" I thought about Sarah's words. Some fights choose us. But maybe the real choice comes after, in how we end them, in what we keep and what we let go, in how we rebuild from the ashes of revenge. "Ready," I said, taking Ella's hand. We left the storage unit empty, carrying only Emma's letter and the weight of choices yet to come. Behind us, the last embers of Derek's secrets turned to ash, and ahead, the autumn wind scattered leaves like memories across our path home.
Money has a way of revealing people's true nature, especially when it belongs to someone else. I learned this the hard way when my husband Michael called me at work, his voice dripping with that fake sweetness I'd grown to despise. "Elena, darling, we need to discuss tonight's dinner arrangements." I pressed my phone closer to my ear, already sensing the trap beneath his words. "What arrangements?" "I've invited the entire family to LeBlanc. Mother and father are flying in specially for this. You'll need to cover the expenses. About $25,000 should do it." The number hit me like a slap. $25,000? Are you insane? "Now, darling, don't be difficult. I've already made the reservations. You wouldn't want to embarrass me in front of everyone, would you?" I gripped my desk, knuckles white. "My credit card is maxed out, Michael. You know this because you're the one who maxed it." His laugh crackled through the phone, sharp and dismissive. "Oh, that old story again? I told you I'd pay you back. Besides, you have other cards, which I've canceled." The words came out before I could stop them. The silence that followed was deafening. When he spoke again, his voice had lost all pretense of warmth. You did what? You heard me. I canceled them all except one, and that's for emergencies only. You stupid bitch. The mask dropped completely now. Do you have any idea what you've done? I needed those cards. I felt a strange calm settle over me. For what, Michael? More gifts for Sophie? Or was it Hannah this time? Another silence, longer this time. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, calculating his next move. I don't know what you're talking about, he said finally, his voice steady but strained. But you will show up tonight, and you will find a way to pay for this dinner. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman you really are. I laughed, surprising myself with how hollow it sounded. And what kind of woman is that? A paranoid, controlling wife who can't handle her husband's success. I wonder what mother will think when she hears about your little jealous fantasies. Margaret, his mother, had always taken his side. Even when the evidence of his lies stared her in the face, she'd find ways to excuse him. Robert, his father, wasn't much better. Too wrapped up in his business empire to notice his son's growing web of deceit. Fine, I said, my voice eerily calm. I'll be there, 8 o'clock, right? 7:30? Don't be late. He hung up without waiting for my response. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling something shift inside me. For 3 years, I'd watched him drain my accounts, make excuses, and gaslight me into believing I was the problem. 3 years of suspicious charges, mysterious business meetings, and perfume scents that weren't mine. Opening my drawer, I pulled out the manila envelope I'd been saving for the right moment. Inside were credit card statements, hotel receipts, and photographs. So many photographs. Sophie leaving his office late at night. Hannah at expensive restaurants, wearing jewelry bought with my money. Each piece of evidence carefully collected, dated, and organized. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel, my oldest friend. You okay? You look like you're about to murder someone. I glanced up to see him watching me through the glass partition of his office, concern etched on his face. I typed back, not murder, something much worse. Tonight, at LeBlanc, surrounded by his family and their expectations, I would finally show Michael exactly what kind of woman I really was. And it wouldn't be the meek, forgiving wife he'd taken advantage of for so long. I touched the envelope gently, like a weapon I was finally ready to use. 7:30 couldn't come soon enough. LeBlanc's crystal chandeliers cast judgmental shadows across the white tablecloth as I watched Michael work the room. He moved between his parents with practiced charm, touching his mother's shoulder, laughing at his father's jokes. The perfect son. I gripped my wine glass tighter, knowing what was coming. Elena, darling, you're so quiet tonight. Margaret's voice carried that hint of criticism she'd perfected over the years. Is everything all right? Just tired from work, I said, forcing a smile. The firm's been busy. Perhaps if you focused more on home life. She let the suggestion hang in the air like poison. Michael swooped in, all teeth and tailored suit. Mother, you know how dedicated Elena is to her career. His hand found my shoulder, fingers digging in slightly, warning me. Speaking of careers, Robert cut in. Michael tells me you've been having some financial difficulties? The restaurant seemed to still. I met Michael's gaze across the table, saw the slight shake of his head. Don't you dare. Actually, I said, reaching for my purse. I wanted to discuss that. Michael's wine glass crashed to the floor. Red liquid spread across the pristine carpet like blood. Clumsy me, he laughed, but his eyes were hard. Elena, help me clean this up. He practically dragged me toward the restroom corridor, grip bruising my arm. What do you think you're doing? Telling the truth for once? I yanked free. Someone has to. You embarrass me tonight, and I swear. You'll what? Max out another of my cards? Sleep with another colleague? His face went still. That dangerous stillness I'd learned to recognize. You're hysterical. This is exactly why I can't trust you with our finances. Our finances, I laughed. You mean my savings that you've been bleeding dry? Everything I've done has been for us. For our future. He stepped closer, voice dropping. But you're too selfish to see that. Michael, Margaret's voice, floated from around the corner. Is everything okay? He immediately softened his expression, the mask sliding back into place. Fine, Mother. Elena's just feeling unwell. I watched him transform, saw how easily he switched between personas. It made me sick. Back at the table, Robert was deep in conversation about the company's latest acquisition. The merger's going through next month. Michael's been instrumental in making it happen. Yes, I said, unfolding my napkin. He's been working very late hours recently, especially with Sophie in accounting. Michael's fork clattered against his plate. Margaret frowned. Sophie? I don't believe I've met her. Oh, she's quite memorable, I continued, ignoring Michael's glare. Blonde, 28, favors Cartier jewelry, particularly the bracelet Michael bought her last month. Elena, Michael's voice was warning thunder. Or was that for Hannah? I get confused sometimes, tracking all these charges. Robert's bushy eyebrows drew together. What exactly are you implying? Nothing, Father, Michael cut in. Elena's been under a lot of stress lately, imagining things. Am I? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. Should we discuss the hotel receipts, the mysterious weekend conferences that only you seem to attend? Margaret's hand flew to her throat. Michael, she's lying, he snapped, but sweat beaded his forehead. She's always been jealous of my success. Success? I felt eerily calm now. Is that what we're calling fraud these days? The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Robert's face darkened. What fraud? Michael stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. This dinner is over. Elena's clearly not well. Sit down. Robert's voice cut through the restaurant's murmur. Both of you. I watched Michael's face as he slowly sank back into his chair. For the first time, I saw fear crack through his perfect facade. Now, Robert continued, someone is going to tell me exactly what's going on with my company's finances. I reached for my purse, where the manila envelope waited. Michael's hand shot out to stop me, but it was too late. The evidence of his betrayal was already spreading across the pristine tablecloth, like the wine stain on the carpet behind us. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I was done being patient. The silence in Robert's home office felt like a noose tightening. I watched him examine each credit card statement, each hotel receipt, his face growing darker with every page. Michael sat beside me, leg bouncing, his usual swagger replaced by something closer to fear. $200,000. Robert's voice was deadly quiet, transferred from company accounts to personal expenses over the past year. I can explain, Michael started, but Robert held up his hand. To jewelry stores, hotels, restaurants. He picked up a particular receipt. A weekend at the Four Seasons, under business development. Margaret stood by the window, her back to us all. She hadn't spoken since we'd left the restaurant. The company's doing well, Michael said. I've earned some perks. Perks? Robert slammed his hand on the desk. You're stealing from your own family. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a specific email. There's more. Michael lunged for my phone, but I was faster. Elena, don't. An email from Sophie to Hannah, I read, my voice steady despite my racing heart, discussing how to divide their bonuses from Michael. Margaret turned sharply. What bonuses? Hush money, I said, to keep quiet about their affairs. You're lying, Michael's voice cracked. She's making this up, Mother. You know how jealous. Stop. Margaret's voice was ice. I saw the way Sophie looked at you at the Christmas party. I didn't want to believe. A knock at the door made us all jump. Ethan, Michael's business partner, stepped in, his face grim. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. The SEC is asking questions about recent transfers. The color drained from Michael's face. What questions? They've flagged several large transactions as suspicious. Something about patterns consistent with embezzlement. Robert stood slowly, his hands shaking. You didn't just steal from us. You put the entire company at risk. I was going to pay it back. Michael's composure finally shattered. Everything was under control until he jabbed a finger at me, started meddling. Under control. I pulled out one final document. Like the gambling debts you've been hiding? Margaret gasped. Robert snatched the paper from my hands, his eyes widening as he read. $500,000. His voice was barely a whisper. To underground betting rings. Michael slumped in his chair, defeated. I had a system. I just needed more time. Time, Ethan interrupted. We don't have time. The SEC wants answers by Monday. Get out. Robert's voice was like gravel. Get out of my house and don't come back until you've spoken to our lawyers. Father, please, now. Michael stood on shaky legs, looking to his mother for support. But Margaret had turned back to the window, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. As he stumbled toward the door, he paused beside me. You've destroyed everything, he hissed. I hope you're happy. I met his gaze steadily. No, Michael, you did this yourself. I just showed everyone who you really are. After he left, Robert collapsed into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 62 years. Elena, I owe you an apology. We all do. Don't. I stood, gathering my things. I didn't do this for apologies. I did it because someone had to stop him. What happens now? Margaret asked, finally turning to face us. Ethan cleared his throat. The company will need to conduct an internal audit, and Michael, well, he'll likely face criminal charges. I headed for the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. There's a recording, I said quietly, of Michael threatening me when I discovered the first affair, and documentation of every unauthorized charge, every manipulation. When you're ready to move forward with legal action, call me. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. You okay? I looked back at the house, where I'd just destroyed my husband's carefully constructed world of lies. The strange thing was, I didn't feel victorious, just tired, and ready for whatever came next. No, I typed back, but I will be. Because this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of Michael's long fall from grace, and I intended to watch every moment of it. The police station's fluorescent lights made everything look sickly and unreal. I sat across from Detective Morris, watching her flip through the evidence I'd gathered against Michael. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, even though I'd rehearsed this moment countless times. Mrs. Anderson, she said, setting down a particularly damning bank statement. This goes beyond simple fraud. I know, my voice sounded hollow, even to me. We're looking at potential money laundering, tax evasion, and, she paused, studying a new document. Connections to illegal gambling operations. Your husband's been busy. The word husband made my stomach turn. Ex-husband, soon. My phone buzzed. Daniel again. Sophie's looking for you, says it's urgent. I ignored it. Sophie could wait. I'd given her enough already. The recordings, the paper trail, her precious immunity deal. Detective Morris leaned forward. There's something else. We found transfers to offshore accounts we can't trace, large ones. That's not possible. I'd tracked every penny. I would have seen. These are sophisticated, professional. She slid a paper across the desk. Someone's been helping him hide money for years. Someone who knows what they're doing. The implications hit me like a physical blow. I thought of Ethan, Michael's supposedly loyal business partner, who'd seemed so shocked by the SEC investigation. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. You don't know the whole story. Meet me at Riverside Park, now. E. Mrs. Anderson, Detective Morris was watching me carefully. Is there something you're not telling me? I stood, gathering my coat. I need some air. We're not finished. I'll be back. There's just something I need to check. The park was deserted this late, wind whipping off the river. Ethan stood by the railing, looking older than his 40 years. You helped him. I didn't bother with pleasantries. All this time you knew. It's not that simple. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Michael has something on me, on all of us. What do you mean, all of us? The company's been dirty for years, Robert included. He laughed bitterly. Why do you think Michael got away with so much? His father taught him everything he knows. My world tilted sideways. Robert, the stern patriarch who'd seemed so shocked by his son's crimes. You're lying. Check the offshore account, ending in 4891. That's where the real money is. Robert's retirement fund, built on decades of fraud. My phone buzzed again. Sophie. Michael knows you're talking to the police. He's going to pin everything on you. Claims you were the mastermind. Has documents to prove it. Why are you telling me this? I asked Ethan. Because tomorrow, the SEC isn't just coming for Michael. They're coming for all of us. He handed me a USB drive. This has everything. Every transaction. Every player. Including proof that you had nothing to do with it. Why help me now? Because you're the only one who tried to stop it. He turned to leave, then paused. Elena, be careful. Michael's not the only one with something to lose. I drove home in a daze. The USB drive, burning a hole in my pocket. My phone kept buzzing. Daniel, Sophie, unknown numbers. I ignored them all. At home, I poured a glass of wine with trembling hands and plugged in the drive. Document after document filled my screen. Each one worse than the last. Robert's signature, Margaret's silent complicity, Ethan's careful bookkeeping, a family business built on lies, with Michael as just the latest in a long line of corrupt inheritors. A knock at my door made me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Margaret, her face streaked with tears. Elena, please, we need to talk. I rested my forehead against the door, thinking of all the times she'd defended Michael. All the years she'd known exactly what was happening. Elena, her voice cracked. They're arresting Robert tomorrow. Michael's threatening to tell them everything. About all of us. About you. I thought of Detective Morris, waiting for my return. Of the evidence I'd so carefully gathered, never realizing I was only seeing the surface of a much darker truth. My phone buzzed one final time. Michael. Last chance to make a deal, darling. Meet me at midnight, or everyone goes down, including you. I looked at the USB drive, then at my phone. In trying to expose one man's lies, I'd stumbled into a conspiracy that could destroy everyone involved, myself included. The question was, how far was I willing to go to see justice done? The hotel bar was nearly empty when Sophie slid into the seat beside me. Her designer perfume couldn't mask the fear rolling off her in waves. They're watching all of us, she whispered, fingers trembling around her martini glass. Michael's not just angry anymore, he's desperate. I studied her perfectly manicured nails, remembering the credit card statements for the salon visits I'd paid for. Why should I care? Because Hannah's dead. The words hung between us like smoke. My glass stopped halfway to my lips. Car accident. Sophie continued, her voice barely audible. Last night. Very convenient timing, don't you think? My phone buzzed. Daniel, where are you? Michael's looking for you. He's not alone. What did Hannah know? I asked Sophie, ignoring the message. Everything. She glanced over her shoulder. The offshore accounts, the gambling debts, the real reason Robert's been moving money through shell companies. She was going to talk to the SEC. The bartender drifted closer. Sophie fell silent until he passed. Michael called me this morning, she said. Offered to clear my debts if I signed an affidavit saying you were behind everything, that you manipulated company records, forced him to make those transfers. My laugh sounded hollow. And you're telling me this out of the goodness of your heart? I'm telling you because Hannah was my friend. Her mascara smeared as she wiped her eyes. And because they're coming for you next. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. Robert's gone. Emptied the accounts. Left a note saying he's sorry. The room seemed to tilt. When did Hannah tell you about the accounts? She didn't. Sophie's smile was sharp as broken glass. But you just confirmed they exist. I stood so quickly my chair scraped across the floor. Sophie grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. Sit down, she hissed. Look at the man by the door. The one pretending to read. I saw him now. Dark suit, earpiece poorly hidden. Another one at the bar, watching us in the mirror. Michael's not working alone anymore, Sophie said. The people he owes money to, they want their investment protected. Hannah threatened that protection. My phone, unknown number. Your friend Daniel is very cooperative when properly motivated. Midnight, the old warehouse. Come alone. Let go of my arm, I said quietly. Sophie released me, leaving crescent marks in my skin. You started this war, Elena. Did you really think there wouldn't be casualties? I walked out, forcing myself not to run. The man by the door spoke into his sleeve as I passed. In the parking lot, a black SUV idled 2 spaces from my car. My phone rang. Michael. Hello, darling. His voice was silk over steel. Having drinks with friends? What did you do to Daniel? Nothing permanent, yet. A pause. You know, it's funny. All this time trying to expose my secrets, and you never wondered about your precious friend's connection to everything. What are you talking about? Ask him about the offshore account transfers. Ask him who really helped set them up. Michael's laugh was soft. Oh, wait, you can't. He's a bit tied up at the moment. The SUV's engine revved. Midnight, Elena, bring the USB drive and every copy of the evidence you've collected, or Daniel won't be the only one paying for your curiosity. The line went dead. I sat in my car, hands gripping the wheel, mind racing. Daniel, my oldest friend, my confidant through all of this, had he been playing both sides? Another text from Sophie. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. Hannah thought she could outsmart them too. I started the engine, watching the SUV pull out behind me in the rearview mirror. 6 hours until midnight. 6 hours to decide who to trust, who to sacrifice, who to save. My phone buzzed one last time. Ethan. SEC moved up the timeline. They're raiding the offices tomorrow morning. Whatever you're going to do it now. I thought of Hannah, of Daniel, of all the pieces I'd thought I understood. The revenge I'd wanted had seemed so simple at first. Now it was a hydra, growing 2 new heads for everyone I cut off. The SUV stayed 3 cars behind as I drove, its headlights watching like patient eyes. I had until midnight to make a choice. Save myself, save Daniel, or burn the whole thing down and hope I survived the flames. The warehouse waited in the distance, a dark promise against the setting sun. The warehouse air reeked of rust and betrayal. Daniel sat tied to a chair in the center, his face a mess of bruises. 2 men in dark suits flanked him, while Michael leaned against a stack of crates, examining his phone with casual indifference. Right on time, he said, not looking up. Did you bring it? I held up the USB drive. Let him go first. That's not how this works anymore. Michael finally met my gaze, and I saw something new there, something unhinged. Show me what's on it. One of the suits produced a laptop. I plugged in the drive, watching Michael's face as he scrolled through the files. His expression darkened. Where are the offshore accounts, the transfer records? Gone. I forced myself to smile. Just like Robert. Michael's hand shot out, grabbing my throat. Don't play games with me, not now. Michael, Daniel's voice was hoarse. She doesn't know everything. I never told her. Shut up. Michael's grip tightened. You had one job. Keep her distracted, keep her close, feed me information. And you couldn't even do that right. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Daniel's constant support, his convenient presence throughout my investigation. I'd been so blind. Elena. Daniel's eyes were pleading. I had to. They threatened my family. But I tried to protect you. By helping them track me, my laugh came out as a wheeze against Michael's grip. By reporting every move I made? Enough. Michael released me, turning to the suits. Search her car. She must have backup copies somewhere. As they left, Michael's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the message. The SEC. He threw the phone against the wall. They're moving in tonight. Someone tipped them off. His eyes narrowed. What did you do? Nothing. I rubbed my throat. But Sophie's been busy. Sophie. For the first time, real fear crossed his face. What are you talking about? Check your precious offshore account, the one ending in 4891. I watched comprehension dawn. She transferred everything an hour ago to Hannah's sister. Hannah's dead, he snapped. Yes, and her sister's a federal prosecutor. I felt a cold satisfaction seeing him unravel. Sophie made a deal, full immunity in exchange for everything she knows, which is apparently a lot more than you thought. Michael lunged for me, but Daniel somehow broke free, tackling him. They crashed into the crates as the suits rushed back in, weapons drawn. "Nobody move," one shouted. But Michael was beyond reason. He grabbed something from the fallen crates, a metal pipe, and swung it at Daniel's head. The crack echoed through the warehouse. Daniel crumpled. "No!" I screamed, running to him. Blood pooled beneath his head. "It's your fault," Michael was saying, his voice distant and strange. "All of this. You couldn't just stay quiet, play your part. Now look what you made me do." Sirens wailed in the distance. The suits exchanged glances and fled, leaving Michael standing over us, pipe still in hand. "They're coming for you," I said, cradling Daniel's motionless form. "All of them. SEC, FBI, Hannah's sister. It's over." "Nothing's over." He raised the pipe again. "I can still fix this. One more accident, one more loose end." The warehouse doors burst open. Margaret stood there, holding a gun with shaking hands. "Michael," she said, her voice breaking. "Put it down." "Mother?" He laughed, high and unnatural. "Come to save your precious daughter-in-law?" "I came to stop you from becoming your father." She stepped closer. "Robert killed himself an hour ago, in a hotel room in Singapore. I won't watch you follow him." Michael's face contorted. "You're lying." "The notes in my car, along with copies of everything. Every crime, every cover-up, going back 30 years. Her finger tightened on the trigger. "Drop it, Michael, please." The pipe clattered to the floor. As police lights flooded the warehouse, I held Daniel's cooling body and watched my husband collapse into himself, becoming something small and broken under the weight of his own destruction. The revenge I'd wanted had cost me everything. Daniel, my safety, my belief in justice. And as the officers swarmed in, I realized the true price of vengeance wasn't paid by its target, but by everyone caught in its wake. The night wasn't over, but I was. The courthouse corridor felt like a funeral home. I sat on the hard bench, watching Michael pace in his expensive suit, all his swagger reduced to nervous energy. The SEC investigation had frozen his accounts, but Lily's diamond bracelet still glinted on her wrist as she whispered in his ear. Sophie appeared at the far end of the hall, flanked by federal agents. Her designer heels clicked like a countdown. "Last chance, Elena." Michael's voice was low, desperate. "Tell them you orchestrated everything. I'll make sure you're taken care of. Like you took care of Hannah." His face twitched. Lily stepped back, suddenly uncertain. "Michael," she asked, "what's she talking about?" "Nothing, darling. Elena's just bitter." "Show her the phone, Lily." I stood, feeling strangely calm. "The one he bought you last week. Check the GPS history for the night Hannah died." Lily's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. Michael lunged for it, but one of the agents stepped between them. "That's enough, Mr. Anderson." Margaret's voice cut through the tension. She approached from the courtroom, holding a manila envelope. "The judge is ready for us." "Mother, please." Michael's mask cracked completely. "You can't do this to your own son. You did this yourself." She handed the envelope to the federal prosecutor. "Everything's here. 30 years of fraud, including Robert's suicide note. And this," she pulled out a single photograph, "is from the traffic camera near Hannah's accident." The image showed Michael's car, the timestamp matching the night of Hannah's death. "You said you were with me that night," Lily whispered, backing away. "You said—" "He says a lot of things." Sophie had reached us, her testimony folder clutched like a shield. "Ask him about the offshore account he set up in your name. The one he's using to frame you for tax evasion." The color drained from Lily's face. "What?" "It's what he does," I said quietly. "Uses people until they're no longer useful, then discards them. Hannah threatened to expose him, so she had an accident. Daniel got too close to the truth. So, shut up. Michael's composure shattered. He grabbed Lily's arm. Tell them I was with you that night. But Lily was already pulling away, tears streaking her makeup. You killed her? And tried to set me up to take the fall? The judge is waiting. The prosecutor stepped forward. Miss Chen's testimony about the offshore accounts matches our evidence exactly. Combined with Mrs. Anderson's documentation and the new evidence from Mrs. Margaret Anderson, Michael's laugh was hollow. Evidence from my own mother. She's grief-stricken, delusional. I'm quite lucid, Margaret interrupted. Lucid enough to wear a wire during our last 3 conversations, including your confession about Hannah. The hallway went silent. Michael looked around wildly, like a trapped animal. His eyes landed on me. You. He moved faster than the agents could react, his hands finding my throat. You turned them all against me. Then Lily's phone clattered to the floor, video playing. Michael's own voice confessing to Hannah's murder. GPS data confirming his location. He'd accidentally recorded everything on the phone he'd given her, thinking he was covering his tracks. The agents pulled him off me as he screamed accusations, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. Lily fled down the hallway, Sophie smirked, and Margaret just looked tired. The thing about lies, Michael, I rasped, rubbing my throat, is that they multiply, like a cancer, until they destroy everything they touch. Mrs. Anderson? The prosecutor gestured toward the courtroom. We're ready for your testimony. I gathered my evidence folder, thinner now, most of its contents already submitted to the SEC and FBI. The case against Michael was airtight. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and now murder. His own arrogance had built the trap. I'd just helped him walk into it. Elena, his voice was different now, small, almost childlike. Please, don't do this. I thought of Daniel in his hospital bed, still unconscious, of Hannah's sister, waiting inside to see justice done, of all the lives Michael had casually destroyed in his pursuit of power and control. I'm not doing anything, Michael. This is just karma catching up. The courtroom doors opened, and I walked through without looking back. Behind me, I heard him break down completely, his sobs echoing through the corridor like the ghost of everything he'd lost. Sometimes revenge isn't about what you do. It's about stepping back and letting someone's own actions destroy them. The prison visiting room smelled of disinfectant and defeat. Michael sat across from me in his orange jumpsuit, the confident mask finally stripped away. Through the window behind him, snow fell on the exercise yard, covering everything in clean white silence. 20 years, he said, his voice hollow, plus restitution. I placed the divorce papers on the metal table between us. Sign them. His hand trembled as he reached for the pen. Was it worth it? Destroying everything we built. We didn't build anything, Michael. You constructed a fantasy, and I lived in it until I couldn't anymore. The pen scratched across paper. Each signature felt like a key turning in a lock. Daniel's awake, I said, watching his reaction. He remembers everything. Michael's pen paused. I never meant to get caught, to kill Hannah, to ruin your father. I collected the signed papers. That's the problem. You never meant for any of it to happen, but you kept making choices that led here. Elena, he reached across the table, but I pulled back. What happened to us? You happened to us. And now you're happening to yourself. Outside, Margaret waited in her car, engine running against the cold. She'd aged years in months, but her eyes were clearer now. It's done? She asked as I slid into the passenger seat. I nodded, watching the prison shrink in the side mirror. He signed everything, the restitution agreement, too. Hannah's sister gets control of the recovered assets. Good. She pulled onto the highway. The company board voted this morning. They're restructuring, keeping the legitimate parts. Ethan's cooperating with the investigation. My phone buzzed, a message from Sophie. Lily's gone to the DA, says she has more recordings. I deleted it without responding. Sophie had played her part, but I was done with all of them. The house sold, Margaret said quietly. Above asking price. The house where Michael had built his web of lies, where I'd lived in beautiful ignorance until the cracks appeared. Someone else would sleep there now, unaware of the ghosts in every room. What will you do now? Margaret asked. I touched the envelope in my bag. Not the divorce papers, but the other one. The one containing proof of my own secret. Documentation of every dollar I'd managed to recover. Traced through shell companies and offshore accounts. Money that even Michael didn't know existed, hidden by Robert before his death. Start over, I said. Somewhere new, she nodded, understanding more than I'd said. You know, revenge is supposed to feel empty. That's what they say, that it doesn't bring peace. This isn't about peace. I watched the snow erase the world outside. It's about truth. Everything hidden eventually comes to light. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. Coffee tomorrow. Doctor says I can have visitors now. I hesitated, then typed back. Rain check. Taking care of something first. Because Daniel had betrayed me too, even if he'd had his reasons. Even if he'd tried to protect me in the end. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. Margaret pulled up to the airport departures terminal. You don't have to disappear, she said. Not everyone in your life was false. No, I gathered my single bag. But everyone was changed by it. She touched my arm before I could leave. The board transferred the recovered funds to your account this morning. Robert's hidden assets, legitimately claimed. You could rebuild here. I thought of Michael in his prison cell, of Sophie playing all sides, of Lily's desperate grab for immunity, of Daniel in his hospital bed, trying to make amends for choices that couldn't be undone. Sometimes, I said, rebuilding means walking away. The terminal was quiet, holiday travelers long gone. At the counter, my new passport waited, the final piece of preparation I'd made, while everyone else was focused on Michael's downfall. Because revenge wasn't just about destroying someone else's lies. It was about reclaiming your own truth. I checked in for a flight to a city I'd never seen, under a name that had never been touched by Michael's deceit. Behind me, Margaret's car disappeared into the snow, carrying the last witness to who I used to be. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't what you take from others, but what you keep for yourself. The power to write your own ending.